Hello, this is Sam Simon, also known as Dementia Man, and welcome to our blog for the first week of spring. We're recording this really on the last day of the first week of spring, but it's finally spring. You know, spring is a time where I think people can feel differently if the weather begins to warm up. Flowers are blooming already where I live, though not all of them. The early bloomers are out there. It's a time to reflect sometimes. It's what I'm reflecting on right now, and that is, what does it feel like to have, I'm going to use a word I hate the most in this world, dementia? Or what does it feel like to be memory impaired, cognitively impaired, to have a neurocognitive disability? Reflecting back on the journey that's recounted in the play, Dementia Man, I think a lot of my journey in real life has been about trying to figure out what it feels like. There is fear, there's depression of sorts, there are suicidal thoughts. It's a journey to come to decide what to do and who to be. I've been fortunate enough to have people and a cohort and a group of friends, not just my wife and my family and friends, but my artistic community, those who knew me as somebody who wrote a play about my wife's brush with death, the actual dance. And they encouraged me. They said, write about it, Sam, write about it. So that's what I've been doing. How do I feel about having this disease? What better way to express it than through theater, through art? In fact, please stay through and get the information at the end of this about an event in New York. And it's put on by Dementia Spring, and it's about arts and dementia. I'm going to be part of the performance of the program in New York, April 11th, early afternoon and in the evening. There was a moment in my work and in this play that I want to talk about today that was at the core of bringing this idea forward. What's it feel like for those of us who live with a degenerative cognitive disease? What's it feel like not to be able to remember? You're going to hear today about a gift that came to me, provoked this idea, and has had a profound effect on me in what I'm doing and how I'm living with my disease. This summer, I performed the play, Dementia Man, in the DC Fringe Festival. We were in downtown Washington, DC. There were 5 performances, but we only had talkbacks after 2. We got very good feedback. The discussion with the audience was the first time I had done this with an audience about the disease, was meaningful to me. What I didn't know was that I did know that there were some people there that had a diagnosis, but what I didn't understand yet was the impact of my performance and my story on people, not just those with the disease, but those who were the caregiver, or I prefer love partner. So you're going to see behind me, it's a watercolor, I believe, drawing made by a gentleman who was in attendance at one of our performances. He and his wife were there, and they attended the feedback talkback session. This was in July of 2023. it wasn't until November, first week in November, that I received an email. It was from the wife of Dr. Sheldon Holen, Holen. It turns out that Dr. Holen and his wife were both at a performance of Dementia Man. His wife's name is Arlene Holen. 3 months later, Arlene Holen sends me a message on email with an attachment. The attachment you're seeing behind me. She said that her husband, Dr. Holen, had been with her at the performance in July, and that he had just passed away several weeks earlier. And she wanted me to share with me this drawing that he had made of himself. That's a self-portrait. And its title is basically What It Feels Like. It's of him experiencing loss of memory. I have to say that I don't think I've been moved or more humbled by anything in my life. That something I did and an experience that was available to him and his wife could have such a deep impact on her. I don't think it triggered his drawing. He was already there. There's so many aspects of this experience for me, and I think would be for anybody. First of all, it helped me understand my own journey. And I'm going to read you some of the lines from the play that evoke in words, but that evokes in drawing and in art. What does it really feel like to not have a memory, not able to remember, to always see that he's always trying to find it? You know, the pain is in the search. You know, people, it's a different kind of pain. It's frustration. It's wanting to know so badly and not being able. I can't tell you how many times people tell me as we talk about my disease, oh, I do that too, or I forget names. You don't look like that, do you? And I say look like that. That isn't the emotion invoked as you search for your memory. That's what that painting can help us understand. When somebody tells you that they have a cognitive disorder, that they have some sort of dementia, and I hate that word, or neurocognitive disorder, don't say, I do that too. You don't do that. You don't feel that. Such a beautiful expression of a very unique moment for which words often aren't adequate. Now, what I also love about being associated with this April 11th program, it's being put on by something called Dementia Springs, and they focus on art and dementia. And there are other organizations and people who try to interact that with those two. A lot of times it's music and singing for people with dementia. But art, painting, maybe music, can express and show. I think theatrical art and perhaps painting are the most explicit ways to try to communicate in some more meaningful, deep way the experience of the diseases. Now, I do want to add, because I think I'm adding at the moment to the tragedy narrative. I love that he did this, because if he didn't have this disease, he wouldn't have been able to do that. And that's beautiful. And that's an enduring gift. It isn't all a tragedy. We all have things happen in life that we have to incorporate it, because that's the hand we're going to be dealt. And the challenge to us is live the best life with that disease. So once again, if you follow me, you know it. I'm going to shout out to my girlfriend. Of course, I've been married for 57 and a half years, Susan, but I call her my girlfriend, Lynn Fielder. Lynn and I met when I was on the board of directors of the World Institute on Disability. Lynn at 40, was diagnosed at 30, but had to retire at early 40s with Parkinson's disease. Lynn now is in a very advanced state of Parkinson's, but she taught me, and she still lives this, though she can't speak, that she is the best Lynn with Parkinson's. She is the best Lynn Fielder with Parkinson's that the world will ever see. And I hope I can say and be as clear and as strong as she has been and is, that I want to be the best Sam Simon with Alzheimer's that the world will have ever seen, and potentially models for others. And Dr. Holden is one of the best, if not the best, artist, if you will, painter of the disease I've come across. The self-portrait. What does it speak to me? How does it relate to me? Let me spend a minute and share some of the lines. They're not going to be exact order that they are in the play. Some of the lines of the play that communicate in words, and then I move in the stage, and there is lighting, and there's the like, about my experiences and how I've adapted it to the theater. And in the very early part of the play, I'm back of the stage, standing under dim light, everything around much darker. And I realize that I am in what we call the nowhere, the nothingness place. Oh, damned, I'm here again. I can't believe that this place exists. Nothingness. No light, yet I have eyes. No sound, yet I have ears. No smell, no taste, no touch. My feet move, yet there is no floor. There must be a door. There must be another side. There has to be. I know I'm not dead, or at least I think I know I'm not dead. Those are the opening lines, but you know something? I'll come back to that, but I want to say there was a moment when I thought in that place, it was real to me because it is what was where I was. And I wish I could paint in some ways to show it's akin to outer deep space. It's as if I exist there, disembodied, but alive, because that's why I'm uncertain if I'm dead, because I'm thinking, but then again, who knows? Maybe death is simply being disembodied. Maybe we're just somewhere else. And in the play, say, I know I'm not dead, or at least I think I know I'm not dead, and then boom, wait. I was about to start a performance of my play. I do remember that. Need to speak my opening line. My opening line, first I know this, my opening line. Then I tell the audience, I don't know if I can do it. And I say, I have an idea. If I can remember my first line, maybe I can remember all my other lines. And I look at my lines, what my opening word, the opening word, what? And I say, no, damn it. Where am I? What's going on? And indeed, if this is how I will be, if this is what my life is going to be like, disappearing into infinity for moments that feel like years over and over and over again. What should I do? What are my choices? And these slips into infinity happen over and over again, not just in the play, but in real life. Footnote, step out of that session and say, by the way, my doctor did find a pill. It's a minor antidepressant that is being used off label. I hope the FDA doesn't hear this. And that's taken away the nothingness place for now. Back to the scene. Then I talk about sort of some of the things that happened, the other experiences that made me aware that something was going on. They usually involved driving, but not always. The biggest one, the one we're talking about, which is reflected in this picture, is expressed in the play this way. The turning point in this journey, the tip of the scale that triggers me to seek help, is something new and weird. It is the appearance one day in the center of my brain, in my center of my head, of a wall-like barrier, perhaps better described as a threshold or an entrance into an infinite opaque expanse, much like infinite deep space. My consciousness is sucked into this void that now hides the answers to everything I want to know: names, dates, words, places, appointments, everything. In real life, that's, I want to say exactly what happened. Off my script at the moment. It was, I just can remember the experience and not the moment. It's in my head. And I look for an answer. And all I see is nothingness. An aside within an aside. In designing the light for the play, I actually asked that we project blackness. Do you know black is not a color? And there is no light that projects black. It's the absence of light. And that's what I experienced. I was in the middle of infinity. It imagines now as floating where they're in space, but I'm not dead because I'm conscious. I'm repeating myself. It is as if the answer I'm looking for, the name, the place, that is on the opposite side, that there is, if I can just get to the other side, it appears. How do you describe that? Art, theater, paintings, drawings. Funny story. I was at one of the neurologists being diagnosed, and I talk about the nothingness place and how real it. There's a young intern, neurological intern in the office, and she says, well, was that an hallucination or was it real? And I instantly said, it's real. In a moment of thought, saying, no, well, there's not actually a wall. It's not really there. I guess it's an hallucination. But that's how real it is. It's real to me. Later in the play, I talk about it this way. I say it's the new rhythm of our lives, referring to Susan. It's the new rhythm of our lives, really my life. Disappearance into nothingness, over and over and over again. I can walk into a drugstore with full intention and boom, all of a sudden I'm in blackness. I can float down the street and feel like I'm floating down the street in my car. I drive on the wrong side of the road. Others don't seem to be alarmed. They don't seem to see me disappear. They still see me. Yet my body and my mind seem to separate. I can be in two places at the very same time, materially, physically. I can be in front of Susan or standing at the counter of a drugstore. Here, I am in the center, infinite nowhere, simultaneously, two places at the same time. I'm scared, it scares me, it confuses me. And it happens that I wonder if one day I will enter the nowhere place and not come out. And if I don't, it doesn't mean that I'm dead. It means I've transformed. I am someone else. The line in the play is that someone else will occupy this body, not something else. That's what it feels like. There's so much more to say because there is a whole real universe of cognitive, neurocognitive disease. People who have these diseases, and it's not just one, there are various kinds of neurocognitive disorders. Lewy body dementia, there's frontal lobal dementia. I hate that word, dementia, and it's in the play. There's Alzheimer's dementia disease. There's neurocognitive disorders caused by different other disease or sources. And we all need and try to manage the best we can. I believe that there are meaningful lives that can be lived with these diseases. And what's needed is for the adaptation of the world, of the outside of the, a la the Americans with Disability Act. So whoever it is that will occupy this body, the new Sam, will live a life of meaning and activity, perhaps with limited physical capabilities, might have to be retaught things, might need to be kept safe physically, or have someone like, let's say, a neurocognitive navigator come with him to help him through where he wants to go. So I'm so deeply indebted to Arlene Holden and to the late Dr. Holden for having drawn and gifted me this amazing artistic description or manifestation, if you will, of what it's like to not know, be in the nowhere place. So the good news, I'm doing pretty well. I know that I'm got the disease. I am in a drug trial. And Dementia Man is on a great tour. We're going to be in New York on April 11th. We're going to be in Tampa, Florida at the end of May. We're going to be in Los Alamos, New Mexico. You remember the Oppenheimer movie? That's Los Alamos, New Mexico. I'm going to perform in the senior center there. I'm going to be in Boulder. And this coming Tuesday here in where I live, the Northern Virginia area. And it's called Falcons Landing. Actually, in September already, I'm going to be the keynote presentation. There's a National Association of Adult Daycare Providers. So I hope to be able to continue perform the show, and I do it with accommodation. I do it with a cognitive navigator with great help, and I carry my script in my hand. So please come see us, come support us. DementiaMan.com. Our ability to do this work is dependent on the gracious support of some foundations, Dementia Spring, and donors like you. If you look on the website, you too can be producer of a theater. The producers are the ones who put the financial support behind it. The donations of $100 or more get permanent recognition on the site and in every one of our programs as a theater producer. I'll even send you a certificate. So with that, thank you for listening. Have a great spring. I hope to see you at a performance in the future.